My name is Nkunda Felix.
I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono.
It's glory for Uganda for the first time in history.
Anything in sports, join me.
Wake up to Good Morning Uganda, weekdays on UBC.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, now today being Tuesday, also the 30th day of the month of July, that is also the 7th month of 2021. Now that means that we're definitely fast tracking far into the evening of this year. That also means that God has been gracious, has been merciful to us, but also He has given us another opportunity to become delighted in His presence. My name is Nkunda Felix. It is Good Morning Uganda, but I'm also with Robert Nyonyintono Kirabo. The word Nyonyintono lugwayo zekemba zokka.
Zekemba byoya byayo.
Zekemba byoya byazo. What does that mean before I say good morning?
Well, usually a small bird have feathers, like any bird has feathers. So it is these feathers that make it at least seemingly look bigger in size, yet the actual body is really very small. That's why sometimes you can go to buy chicken and after it's been slaughtered you wonder, this thing looked big, but look at what I've gotten. So Nyonyintono yekemba byoya byayo. Otherwise, a lovely morning to you, our viewer, and thank you so much for kick-starting your day with us. This is Good Morning Uganda, your current affairs show only on UBC TV. Well, we know that every night God gives each one of us an opportunity to sleep. And when you sleep, many people dream. But God was also wise. He knew that there must be a day for you to wake up and start on the journey of fulfilling your dreams. So join us this morning and we kick-start your day into achieving your dreams. Of course, we know it is a time of lockdown. Some people are home, and this in one way or the other may not be possible, but still never lose hope, because together we will overcome COVID-19 and we'll go back to normal as we also wait for more of vaccines to come into the country to ensure that every Ugandan is safe.
Well, of course, speaking about home, now something quite interesting we want to share with you this morning is that for all of you who've been home for quite a time, it's coming to about 30 days or what you want to call a month. And for some of you who have been in lockdown since last year, if you do take an evaluation, what have you done during this time? Is there anything that you have learned? Is there something new you have done? Is there something different you have done? I mean, if you're to take stock of this whole time since we got in lockdown, and if you're to cause evaluation, have you done anything? And every time we talk about this, we will try to say, what do we have? We are broke, we don't have money. Let's think away from maybe, because you see, self-development starts from the point of what you have. Maybe the only thing you have is life. Maybe you can say, I've been able to cut my weight up to these kilograms. I mean, if you're to take evaluation, so you can also let us know probably on our social media platforms what you have been doing in this lockdown since last year for some of you, and even this most recent. Is there anything new that you have learned, anything new that you have learned to do or not to do? Is there a habit you have dropped? Is there a habit you have picked? You can share with us on our social media platforms, that is also on Facebook, on Twitter, but also you can catch us live on YouTube. But something, Robert, just before we get into the local stories, I wanted to ask you much earlier. There's this thing, I hope it doesn't come off bad. Well, there's this thing that people say or do. And what is the most thing you can't stand in a person. Like, you're like, if this person does this or says this, I can't stand this kind of character in someone or something. And I'll tell you mine, if you don't mind.
First tell me yours.
No.
Well, I try to be tolerant, and I ensure I don't get to that level when I think I cannot do with anyone. But I cannot stand an alcoholic.
Say what?
An alcoholic. That is one thing. An alcoholic, I just can't stand them.
Why?
Because you see, they are usually in reverse gear. You know, when you get addicted to alcohol, you engage a reverse gear.
What do you even mean by that?
This is a person, every penny they get, even if you're to come up and decide something as maybe people staying together, at the end of the day, alcohol, if they're addicted and they are now alcoholics, at the end of the day, you'll come back and this is a person next to useless at times. And all you can remember is what we discussed, let me wait for him to maybe, the hangover, and again they go back to the same thing. So they're just engaging a reverse gear, and that gets to my nerves.
Well, they are quite a headache. I know for a fact. I have a couple of colleagues of mine who, yeah, shout outs to you, my friend Jobito Lawrence. But for myself, I think I just can't stand someone who mispronounces words of English. It is so irritating. Now, I think I lost a relationship because of that. Because, for example, you know algae? And someone comes and says, arugoi. I'm thinking, it took me like a whole evening to understand what she was trying to say. And then you think, arugoi? So it's sort of like stuck in my mind. And I kept on repeating it. Up to a point I'm like, oh my God, she was meaning algae?
But then Felix...
And someone says, arugoi. And it gets worse when someone speaks English in another language.
But
have you had people who speak English in Lunyankore?
Yes, very many.
People who speak English in Lugisu. Someone says, ba, papa. I'm like,
Felix,
it is either lucky. English, and then another person speaking in Lunyankore come, hey, papa, papa.
You're just lucky, because I happen to have an in-law who is from the extreme north, and his accent, getting his words is very hard. I have a Nigerian friend. I have an Indian friend, that is Patel. But these three, when they're speaking English, I want to tell you, it's all about trying to find out what exactly. So for me with pronunciation, I may just leave it at that, because I know maybe it's not their mother tongue and all that, and sometimes there are some letters that are hard for some people to pronounce. I know tribes in Uganda where they'll never pronounce letter S in any word.
That's not true, Robert. There are people from those particular tribes who speak the language much. Anyway, I'll be honest with you. Someone who doesn't have the grasp of a language, they just irritate me. Or as the word goes, it's like a turn off. You can imagine someone calling you Rav. Ravu? The word is... someone says, my Rav husband. Rav husband. But anyway, it is...
it would be a turn off for you.
For me, yeah. For me, I just can't stand someone who doesn't whose dialect is entangled in another language. I find it very, very, very... well, most recently, you also hear Baganda trying to... Have you heard a Muganda speak English in Uganda?
You've never heard those that forge accents to please you?
No. Away from forging, the people, for example, have you heard there's this one gentleman who's always on radio? He said, the Yisu. Zay.
And he's speaking English.
Where does Zay come from, TH?
He's speaking
What is THEY? And Zay? Well, for me, exactly. How about we just keep speaking? You rather come to me speaking, yo, actually, or it is so, and I'm like, okay, the person, I hustle to understand, maybe I can learn, but to try to all this thing, for me, it's definitely a turn off. Well, you can also hit our social media platforms and let us know what actually puts you off with someone, be it your friend or relative or spouse or whatever, and that you can share on our Facebook page, that is Good Morning Uganda, and of course also on Twitter and you can still catch us live on YouTube. Now we will take you through our local stories. Robert will definitely do that, and later on I will also come in to take you through our international stories.
Well, FX has just reminded me when we were having presidential election, that was 2011, there was this guy who had a flag. It's what's called a beto, be tolerant. Be tolerant. That is what we had. But talking about being tolerant, of course, there are limits that if you overstep, then the law will catch up with you. We begin with police achievement in arresting a person that declared His Excellency dead. Uganda police arrested 3 people on allegations of propagating on social media platforms that President Yoweri Museveni is dead. The arrested persons will be charged with cyber crime related cases. According to police, the government has already contracted relevant governments to aid in operations to have those outside Uganda or abroad handed over to Uganda government. It had become a norm for social media users spread fake news about unsustained reports alleging that the president is dead. For some time, security agencies in Uganda have been in slumber about the allegations until the man himself, the president, rose to the occasion and responded to the social media fake reports announcing him dead. Since then, the Department of Crime Intelligence Directorate has been on the manhunt for 3 persons alleged to have generated the fake news on their social media handles. The CID mouthpiece confirmed at a press briefing that in their custody they have 3 people suspected to have generated the death announcement of President Museveni. According to police, those in diaspora, government is working with the respective governments to work on returning them home to face the law. Away from cyber harassment, we now move to Forum for Democratic Change, that is the FDC party, which has appealed to the ruling party NRM to reassess the COVID-19 relief fund meant to support the affected vulnerable persons hit by the partial lockdown. Speaking at the party headquarters in Nyonyintono, FDC President Engineer Patrick Oboy Amriat also underscored the need for government to settle public electricity and water utility bills for an upfront of 6 months. Last week, the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja launched the distribution of COVID-19 fund relief to the vulnerable persons, and in this campaign, over 500,000 Ugandans are meant to benefit from the relief aid. FDC party, through its president Patrick Amriat Oboy, has advised government to re-examine the data entries of the people being considered as vulnerable to avoid taxpayers' monies going to ghost people claiming to be vulnerable. To offload the burden of avoiding risks of misusing COVID-19 cash relief, Oboy also appealed to government to settle water and electricity utility bills for Ugandans at least for a period of 6 months, and also talk to landlords not to evict tenants in this lockdown. On the other hand, FDC is to fill vacancies in party of members who left the party recently that include Joyce Nabosa Sebugwawo. FDC is also appealing to Uganda Police Force to loosen its stance on Ugandans as they enforce the set guidelines of COVID-19. Well, away from Forum for Democratic Change, we now head to the ruling party, the NRM, where the National Resistance Movement has started its path to repressing the late Mathias Kasamba, who was a legislator at the East African Legislative Assembly. Our latest visit at the National Resistance Movement Party Electoral Commission chairperson revealed a beehive of activity was taking place. This at the party seeks to replace, replace the late Mathias Kasamba, who passed on a year to end his term at the East African Legislative Assembly. By the time of filing the report, it had been confirmed that 18 people, including the National Women Council chairperson Hajat Farida Kimbowa, who had already expressed interest. Hajat Kimbowa also targets increased efforts to ensure East African integration is achieved. Others in the race are Stella Chiriowa, Professor Mondo Kagonyera, and Sarah Nkonge. The National Resistance Movement Central Executive Committee meets next to propose names to be forwarded to the caucus for the final say. From NRM electoral activities, we now head to the August House, that is Parliament, where Parliament is set to resume plenary sessions today, Tuesday, with top on the agenda being the constitution of the parliamentary committees. Members of Parliament expressed hope in this upcoming exercise as one way of jump-starting serious parliamentary work. In agreement with her colleagues, Kitgum woman member of Parliament Lilian Abbas said establishment of these committees is long overdue. From the main gate of Uganda's parliament, it looked like a mere tent mounted next to the national flag and the main parliamentary building. But moving closer, it is serious beehive of activities going on inside there. For arrangement of these seats to position for those who will be attending these sessions, ensuring that the SOPs are properly implemented. Behind this is anxiety of members of Parliament who are eager to come and start their business at Parliament. However, the big question is, how will they ensure that they stick to the standard operation procedures to avoid risks of contracting COVID-19? Well, those are some of the stories that were in our bulletins as we wait for Parliament today, when they will be commencing their business, beginning with electing committees, members to be on these committees, then later we will see them debate issues. Among the agenda is what is happening and how government is handling the COVID relief. Felix is ready to take us through international stories.
Well, of course, now we'll also cross over to our international stories, and our first story will be looking at Cuba, where we see the uprising, protests and arrests after thousands rally against government. Now, dozens of people have been arrested in Cuba after thousands joined the biggest protest for the decades against the island's communist government. Media and opposition sources say that. Now, Cubans have been engaged in angered by the collapse of economy, food, medicine shortage and price hikes in governments, and of course how it has also handled the COVID-19. The protests are significant as critics face harsh punishments for dissent, and the island's president called his supporters to fight the protesters. Now, one of those at Sunday protests, named only as Alejandro, told BBC Mundo, "There is no food, no medicine, there is no freedom. They do not let us live." Protesters also shouted freedom and down with the dictatorship in demonstration across Cuba, including the capital, Havana. "We are not afraid, we want change. We do not want any more dictatorship or unarmed protests." In San Antonio said that they will actually go on until they get their desired change. Now, still international stories, quite sad. We're looking at Iraq hospital fire in COVID-19 ward kills dozens. Now, more than 40 people have died after a fire broke out in the coronavirus isolation ward at a hospital in Iraq. Now, the blaze at the Al Hussein Hospital in southern city of Nasiriyah was brought under control late on Monday, but the cause is unclear. However, initial reports suggest it began after an oxygen tank exploded. Now, reports described charred bodies being carried out of the building. Rescuers also still searching for survivors. However, hospital officials, also Haida Al-Zamil, told AFP news agency that there are fewer people still trapped inside the ward, which reportedly has space for 60 patients. Now, protesters demonstrated outside the hospital after the fire, and people posted on social media demanding the resignation of officials. However, Iraq's parliament speaker Mohammed al-Bohis tweeted that the blaze was clear proof of failure to protect Iraqi lives, and it is time to put an end to his catastrophic failure. We're now crossing over to Africa. In South Africa, we're looking at a deploying of military as protests turn violent in a wake of Jacob Zuma's jailing. South Africa's government sent troops to Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal province on Monday as rioting and looting sparked by the jailing of the former President Jacob Zuma left 10 people dead. Addressing the nation for the second straight night, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa condemned the unrest and opportunistic act of criminality and said the military was being deployed to restore calm. Part of the country are rallying from days and nights, public violence, destruction of property, looting of all sorts, and it's been before in the history of our democracy. Now, the violence began with the blockaded roads and banning of trucks in KwaZulu-Natal province, the Zulu tribal homeland, on Friday after Zuma went to prison. Unrest then spread to Johannesburg, the country's largest city and center of industry, where shopping malls have been looted and banned. Now, the highways also been blocked. At the beginning of this unrest, there may have been some people who sought to agitate for violence and disorder along ethnic lines, said Ramaphosa, referring to initial protests by supporters of Zuma, who was the country's first Zulu president. Now, however, what we are witnessing now are opportunistic acts of criminality with groups of people instigating chaos merely as cover for looting and theft. Well, that's basically what's trending internationally, and South Africa is back at it. There's a lot of ethnicity friction, for some of you who know what's in South Africa. KwaZulu-Natal has a big portion that is slum, also a big portion that is also high-end. Now, when these two fuse, the people in the slums look at the other people as opportunities for them to live as it is. When there's nothing for the poor to do, the only work they'll have will be the rich. And clearly it's what is happening. But the fear is that this all doesn't end up in another xenophobia attack. And we hope and pray for the people, our people in South Africa. Some of us have families and friends who live and work there. We pray for you. But anyway, speaking about prayer, we will also have our song for the day at this moment that is meant to put you in high gear as you do kickstart your day. For some of you who are home, it will also help you wake up so you can what?
You know, you wake
up to sleep?
No, Felix. I think this time we must change that phrase. There is so much that people can do in this lockdown.
You think?
There is really so much that people can do. Away from earning, there is so much. People can wake up. I want to give you an example. One of the things I discovered yesterday, I drove and I went to visit my father. And he told me for us in Uganda, wherever there is anything, in memory of that, we plant a tree. And I found the old man had done some good tree planting. He said, this is something that I will remember sometime.
How many
my children will do that.
Staying on Mizigo,
but still rentals, even Mizigo.
Where do you plant a tree?
But even still Mizigo, there is, this time people are using their phones, there is internet. There is so much
to plant a tree on
urban farming. You know, just in a sack, in maybe a tire that was once on your car, you're using it, you can have skuma wiki, and skuma wiki in about 30 days, you're harvesting. You're having ugali and skuma wiki.
So apart from a skuma wiki and ugali, as Robert says, me, what I did, I got, Junior. Junior was my companion those days when I used to spend the whole day home, and he did a good job, and Jingo. So I also send my shout outs to you, VJ Jingo and VJ Junior. Thank you. You have supported the lives of many Ugandans in lockdowns, I can tell you. They are your unsung heroes for lockdown. Those were the
only problem would be, where do they get the rights, copyright and all that?
We don't know, and we don't actually care as long
as you're occupied.
I know that if I want action packed, I will go to Jingo, because Jingo will tell you when they tell someone, where the hell have you been? I'm Mugambi Okulikayo. And but then Junior will go and have some time, read. I like the fact that Junior actually, even the time I was watching a law movie, he even goes and reads those words. He explained as exto facto, all those principles. He's a good guy. So today morning, shout outs to you, VJ Junior and VJ Jingo. There's also VJ ISP, VJ Mark.
I'm left
VJ
out
Emmy.
completely.
Those guys are doing a good job for some people in this lockdown. And honestly, trust me, they keep and they help people avoid unnecessary moving. Yes, I've seen memes in the Korea, the Indian. Anyway, by the way, also on Star TV, most TVs have done a good job to put some of these movies for people who are home. Sometimes when you just need something to distract you, it's one of the therapies for trauma and stress. You just need a distraction and something that can cause you to enjoy. You watch a movie, you laugh, you...
But Felix, there's something I noticed in the first lockdown that even police had to come up and the president. This time we've not seen this massive jogging like the first lockdown.
That's kajaja. You
could see everyone was on the street and they were trying to do some jogging. This time around,
let me tell you, if you ever want a race of people who have katijo, my katijo in Uganda, I don't know what katijo is in English. I'm going to Google and find out. Then I come back out. What is kutija in English? I wish Priscilla was here. But anyway, we'll take a break.
Bandwagon?
Katijo bandwagon, Robert.
Just really? Doing things because everybody. Really? So let's join.
Don't take us a process, Robert. But anyway, let us have a song for the day. One of those songs that will help you wake up to do whatever you do as you're home, but also to feel your life again and know that it's important to create love even while there's no love. Let's take a break. When we come back, me and Robert will be doing the usual good morning.
UBC studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
So much is happening, but we ensure that at the comfort of your home, you get all the relevant information that you need to know as you go about the day. We give you what is happening locally, what is happening internationally, and of course, here and there, some bit of humor to spice up your morning. You know, times are hard, and people need something that can take them away from actually facing reality or the challenges they're going through as a family, as family heads, as everybody, even the children. Now, men are asking, why aren't we going to school? There's so much psychologically that we have to focus on, but this is what we make sure we do every morning. So make it a date to begin your day with us on Good Morning Uganda. Felix, I just enjoyed the song. I don't know. This is about more of a passion, about relationship. I saw you so much taken, and I want to know why do you draw your love into such kind of music?
No, well, of course, I also love the fact that the lyrics is mature, and now songs by Lucas Graham. I must insist, Robert. Robert knows why I'm actually insisting, but but anyway, he sings and says that when you say you love the way I make you feel, everything becomes so real. And he adds to say, don't be scared. No, don't be scared, because you are all I need. But then he says, and you still look perfect as days go by, even when the worst one, you make me smile. But then he comes and says, now the best saying is this, that when you open your, okay, well, the biggest part now is the chorus. When you say you love the way I make you, okay, sorry, it actually says, because when you love someone, you open up your heart. When you love someone, you make room. If you love someone, you are not afraid to lose, and you're not afraid to lose them. Oh, when you love someone and you're not afraid to lose them, then you probably never loved someone like I do.
I love the conclusion.
Now,
definitely.
he says that, and it's powerful.
Yeah.
I've seen people like Holmes, like you were talking about domestic violence yesterday. And remember something I told you, that the difference is that we have people together for projects, for just circumstances. Like we look at each other as
convenience that brought us together.
I don't even think it's convenience, because convenience is okay when you know, by what convenience means you can live with each other, because but it is simply because we are all on different, like we all have different purposes, circumstances. The word is circumstances actually. Now people don't like fall in love, because after everything is gone, at least there will be love. When the jobs are gone, when there's no this, if you don't have anything to hold or fall back to as a couple, as people in a relationship, you truly have nothing. Now that's what he's saying, that when you love someone, you create room, you forgive them, you learn from them. So if you do not care if they go or not go, then probably you've not loved someone. So you should be worried. There's some people I know, I grew up seeing my parents and my grandparents like literally caring for each other. They literally, you know, now that's something special. It may look small, but then there's someone else who will say, those
who would say, if I woke up one day and this lady walked out of my home, I would thank God. I would thank God.
Yes.
They will celebrate. You would see them and saying,
imagine.
I'm happy I've woken out of this cell. You're like, what? Have you been arrested? No. The marriage has come to an end. And I'm so excited I'm moving on to the next. But if you don't fear to lose the person you love, then you actually never love them. So lockdown has brought an opportunity for you to mend these broken pieces.
To fall in love again. You can start all over again.
To better understand. Maybe for sometimes you married this woman and you didn't even know her physique. So it's the time to better understand the person.
So you
their likes, their dislikes, and how best
I would say
do life
for them
together.
that the men, like in Uganda, is I don't know how to say that in English.
I wonder how. Begin afresh, propose again.
In our ghetto language, you say Wakuba Amanda.
Propose again. But also these days, you've put some drama in these things. A man kneeling on a street. What is happening?
Anyway,
this circus.
Let's just go to our story.
I hope it promotes marriage and helps the marriages stay longer, but I highly doubt. I think this is more of drama and copying from the Western world. Anyway, we have a newsreel story, and today we are looking at something very important. You see, we welcomed technology, but technology came with challenges. And today we are looking at cyberbullying. This is something that many Ugandans have experienced. All have had a relative experience it. It has a lot of harm. Some have lost jobs because of this. Others, psychologically, they are living with that torture over and over. Every time there's an incident, the issues are remembered of how this came out. So that's what we want to discuss today. How best can we ensure we fight this? Recently, we even saw people taking it to an extra mile. Of course, the law took its course. But Felix, one of the interesting things is that we have a number of laws in Uganda, about 3. We have the Computer Misuse Act, that is 2001. We have, that is Electronic Transaction Act. We have Electronic Signature. Also we have various laws when it comes to cyber and protecting people. But unfortunately, day by day, this seems to be increasing. The people who have even almost made a living out of this.
Well, Robert, it all doesn't start with legislation or the legalese. It ends with it. It cannot start there. When you talk about cyberbullying, it's a true reflection of the kind of society that we have as a country. That's what I'm saying. The beginning of it cannot be the law or the legalese or the regulations or whatever. It starts with the society. It's a true reflection. Now, I want to give you an example. For example, if Robert, let's say you have children and you keep them in-house, and because you're always there, they will keep quiet. Now, when you take them for a party and you stand afar and watch, the things they will do, it will be their true character, away from the ones they do when you're there as a watchdog. The mannerism you see in social media, on TV, on any form of electronic media is the true mirror of the kind of society we hold as a country. The laws are punitively good, but how much can the laws do? Because if then that was the case, then probably theft wouldn't be an issue. Look at corruption in this country. Really, what don't you have to curb corruption? But every day it increases and changes faces. So it means that the entire solution of cyberbullying and cybercrime is not necessarily anchored in legislation or the legalese or the regulations, if you want to call them. The bigger problem is the kind of society we hold. What do I mean again? When you talk about cyberbullying or abuse of electronic media, you're looking at people probably who use the likes of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, well, just to mention but a few, WeChat, there are very many. Even TV, by the way, even TV. There are some TVs that have programs that intend and are probably also financed to cause pain to other individuals.
And you know what is very disappointing? That you will find that such programs on certain TVs are the most with the biggest following.
It brings you back to the point that I was talking about.
You just talked about society.
That is a reflection of the kind of society. Because you're going to judge, it's sort of like a tripartite approach, and you're going to look at it in this way. One, you're looking at the victim. There's a victim in that tripartite. There's a victim somewhere, there's a castigator, and there's someone who causes the influence. Now, in influence, you can look at, say, media. What avenues they use Facebook, what? But there's someone here, but there's someone also who's doing it. Because, for example, like we used to do in school, my teachers used to tell me that before you start an exam, you have 100%. Once you start writing, you see who comes reducing. Paka kwa abirigo, maybe 20, maybe 10, maybe 70, maybe depending on how prepared you are for that exam. In terms of content can be there. Or facts, whether facts or misfacts, or whether facts in issue or facts in law, they are there. Now, it's sort of like incumbent on a Kirabo who comes, picks them, and puts them out there in a manner he or she wants, depending on what they want to communicate. Someone comes and says, His Excellency is dead. What is the intention? Not thinking about the wife, the children, maybe the grandchildren, in the case of the president, or probably, as a head of state, the chaos of a nation, of institutions.
Just jeopardizing the national security without even...
So, let's imagine if that information is treated with despair and anxiety,
What can happen?
And there is havoc. What is the intention? Now, when you're looking at cyberbullying, you must address the intention and do not take it lightly. I'll give you an example. Most recent, you've seen on all over social media, there's I think a footage of a lady who came out to say that she was, I don't know if it's really abusing. She was abused. I don't think
she consented. The issue
I don't think it was abusing.
It wasn't abusing.
Yeah,
it was
but she came out with a genuine point,
yes,
in my opinion, saying, guys, you know, ABC is happening, and what I was taken process by process because I was naive. Now, the intention of the person coming to electronic forum was probably genuine, but the latter of it has been abused. Now, it means that this person will never get out of her intention. In Uganda, because even the person who would have taken this as a matter of concern now looks at it as a matter of...
I've had a couple of skits on a couple of radios.
You can imagine.
Out of the plight, the pain of this lady.
And someone looks at it as a joke.
Yeah, and so force is one of
and it's on TV,
now. Yes.
and it's on radio.
Yes.
And it's okay. You get the point. We have had people here. Remember the times of elections? Someone gets a burnt petrol station somewhere in Yemen, somewhere in Nigeria, and they post it, and they say, Chibuye kuto muliro, you people come to town, let's take charge of this. Now, again, 3 people. What is the intention of the person who posts?
Now, from
but
bullying,
they are victims.
Also, false communication.
It's part of it.
Yes,
it's part of it.
Yes.
Because now, let's imagine, Kirabo, your daughter works at that petrol station. This news has happened. And you know your daughter works at that petrol station, and this is what you're seeing on social media. And when you call her phone, maybe it's off. What happens? You know, someone can die.
Yes. Or accidents committed rushing.
What is the intention? That's why grown civilities do not handle electronic bullying, or what you want to call merely. They deal with it to the concrete. And the biggest challenge of some of these platforms is that there is no controller. There is no content control. The person who seemingly wants to control is somewhere in Washington, somewhere in Seattle, somewhere in New York. They want to control content of a 12-year-old somewhere in Bugorobi or wherever, in what not to put and what to put, not knowing the background of the kind of society they live in.
Now, Felix, here you've brought into elements, the element of control, but also moral decadence of all what society has come to accept. How can we address these problems? Because day by day, I'm sorry to say, but this is a reality. I think in terms of moral decadence, Uganda, we are going to the dogs day by day, seeing what is happening. I'm not seeing any improvements in terms
Uganda?
of... As a country, in terms of ensuring we lift our morals, we have religious leaders, we have cultural leaders. Then when it comes to controlling, we've seen many times our own government trying, but it can only do so much. Because at the end of the day, like you said, so how do you address this?
If I want to ask, before I address your issue, how is government trying? You can give me just 3 examples.
We have the laws in place.
That's the laws.
That is the laws. Then we have arrests have also been made. Sometimes we've seen government block or close, for example, the electronic media, some forums where they believe this information either jeopardizing national security or it is victimizing some people, where Uganda Communications Commission has the capacity to say, let's switch off, let's suspend operations. You've seen government.
You know, Robert, we have an institution, I think that's the UCC.
Uganda, yes.
But there are also other institutions, like mother institutions. In terms of media, the UBC could be one of the institutions that has senior or an upper hand in terms of direction. Now, the biggest challenge we have today, Robert, is that government has not mastered the art of information technology. That's a sour truth. Why? One, you see, once you politicize anything, it loses the technical appreciation. For example, you're going to find that people who are somehow, who should be or castigated or should be tried on what, are going to work backward to other politicians. You get the point? Let me give you an example. Remember the times of elections? A lot of bloggers were working for the people power, the NOP, many of them, and they had taken over. What did the other parties do also? They brought them on board. That's how you had what get this guy Ashbag, you had the Alexis, so instead of taking that down totally, now we brought politics, which is a good move for politics. That's a matter of fact. It was good politicking. But the effects are still concrete. I have seen videos on people on social media, Robert. It is in this country, someone goes on a live and abuses the president, the deputy president, the speaker. Kirabo, when I talk about abusing, I'm not talking about don't see the word.
So you have verbal artillery.
With some now, and that person is let free.
Yeah. They live another day, they tackle another person.
You get it? There's a time they said Bahavu Makabaka.
I mean, I saw that
they insulted the king. For the Katikira, I think he's a man of a thick skin. Honestly, if it was a man who's not Ngasimo Gumivu, that man could be dead. He must be having another bone in him. But why? Why? They have abused the speaker, the chief justice. Who have they not abused? But this that you see today it is breeding something bigger than this. The laws are not enough. You have the Minister of ICT.
Felix, just to take you on that, when you say the laws are not enough, I want to believe Uganda, we're a paper tiger. We have very good laws. But either there is lack of will, there is fear, there is complacency, something else. But when it comes to the laws, if you substitute Uganda's laws, give them to another country in terms of implementation, Felix, I want to assure you, these laws will work, these laws will restore sanity.
I think the laws cannot operate in a vacuum. One, you must train judicial officers about this, because electronic regulations are so sophisticated. How many judicial officers are aware? Go to investigations. How many police officers have been taught the art of cyber investigations? How many?
You have a whole directorate there.
Maybe a directorate there. The directorate is for fashion.
For me, I want to believe it is just like let me give you an example. Let me just be honest to Ugandans. For me, why I believe, yes, we could be having challenges in our laws, but where there is a will. How many people have been declared dead? We had Elias Lukwago. I can mention, the list is endless. How many people that have done this have been arrested? Where the will was, I think the president spoke just last week about this. Is it even a week? Not yet a week. But we are having 3 people arrested.
Robert, you see.
Do you want to tell me that they have imported a law somewhere?
What you're saying is even more dangerous than what you said earlier. What you mean to say is that police can only work when it is individuals.
If this is what is being portrayed.
Let me tell you, Robert. You talk to these officers, you're friends with many of them. How many can investigate electronic crimes? You don't need 30 or 50 people. Talking about a country like, being a directorate there is not enough. How many officers are trained? You get it? But also, there must be someone in charge of electronic content. That one, I insist, quality control. What goes on TV, what goes on radio, what goes on social media. You saw what happened in Nigeria? The nigger banned he was banning Twitter out of the country. You know, there is no government who can live with something they can't control. You must be able to control any form of system. You remember a time when some radios were put off air? But
sanity was restored in other stations.
But what was the difference with what they said on what is being said on social media? Why do you think government removes social media during election times? Why?
As a control gap against escalating violence, because they were instigating violence.
That's the thing. So that must be maintained. You must put in terms, you see, content is key. Today everyone is a TV presenter. On social media. Everyone has a YouTube channel, has a Facebook channel. I hear them calling, the question is, who accredits people? There must be some form of bypass to qualify.
How we can hold you accountable.
Yes. Because once
if it was on Tindi media, then we know who is Tindi,
who owns this media,
how can we hold this person accountable?
And it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong. We want as many people to use the media, but government must be in charge. But most recent, the reverse is true. That's why you end up having people who come on social media and they spread lies and they become famous. There's someone, I think they called someone, most of them are abroad. They have pages. I don't know if that's his name.
Who says in the
I really don't know. I don't know many of their names, but I know that some of them have made livings out of
many
killing people, saying that people are dead. So it's again, it brings you back to government in conjunction with society. Government has its role, but society has its role. Parents, when do you give your children access to social media? Really and truly. You find a 9-year-old tweeting, WhatsApping, Facebooking, 9 years. On all this information that is all over social media, you risk you're going to have your child ask you for sex the next day. Your child. You know? So, like, the information there is not yet built for them. Now, that's why I bring in society. That instead of us condemning these people, we applaud them. And
for me, that is the confusing part of it.
That is society.
Actually, there was a time, Felix, I wanted even to almost, if it were possible, to get off social media. Because I try to look at most of the sites, most of the people that have huge following. And I want to tell you, for Uganda's case and those that are common, I was shocked. People that have a lot of obscenity, they have the biggest following. People that spread funny rumors, they have, society has come to act. By the time a person is engaged, you see, this is a person, and what content is this person offering? You'll find that is totally trash, very dangerous, hazardous to a new generation.
Someone comes on social media and they say, which can be okay. I don't know the sophistication in that. But the things they say, these things are on record. Even generations will come and see them So who's protecting these fragile other people? So as government, we have a role, but key more to that is that society, and when I talk about society, I'm talking about churches. Churches, you hear priests lashing out. A priest also insults others. You hear pastors you hear Muslim clerics coming out to social media. Let us protect the people who use us. As society, let us condemn the bad things. But government, you must take charge. For every time you're not in charge, these things will happen. They are going to announce the president, the next day you see the president.
Well, Felix said it all right, but I believe, yes, we have the laws. Let's implement these laws, because this is the important use, that they act as deterrents. A person knows that once I'm arrested, I will face the wrath of the law. That is one. Then also society. Today you may support this, but you're the next victim. You're enjoying that blogger, you're enjoying that person harassing, saying all this, but I just want to tell you that that site you're building, at the end of the day, it will catch up with you, your daughter, your son, your in-laws. So let's together condemn this. Let's together condemn this as government plays its part. If we stand to condemn and show these people that you're rejects of society, not heroes of society, then that is the only way we will together fight cyberbullying and such crimes that are happening using modern day technology. When we return, we'll be taking you through what is trending in the print media. Good morning.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless. Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Every morning we make sure we update you with what is happening so that you're an uninformed person, more so at such a time when we know movements have been restricted and maybe you can't access information the way you used to get it. But start your day an informed person by ensuring that by 6:30 you make it a date with us here on UBC TV. Now we are looking at some of the catchy stories in the dailies, and beginning with the New Vision, that is a National Drug Authority speaks out. That is on Gulu University COVID-19 remedy. That is the drug authority to meet the team lead researcher. So much is coming in, and we heard from Gulu University where, though not yet approved, they believe they have something that can help in the treatment of COVID-19. Already we know Mbarara under Professor Wang did that, and now here comes Gulu University as well. Still looking at the New Vision, coronavirus, that is migrant workers to retest. Okay, people that are working, maybe you have to do some testing there because our aim is to ensure we fight the spread of the virus. Look at the education column. We have Senior 1 and Senior 6 work. That is chemistry, mathematics, and biology. The New Vision brings you that still Kampala residents get lockdown cash relief. Yes, so far by close of business yesterday, about 65,000 Ugandans had gotten money. The 100,000 had gotten this money on their phone and then began spending it. We expect to see more, but also regarding that, Nabanja cash relief deadline is Wednesday, the day after tomorrow. So if you've not gotten that on your phone when you're among the vulnerable and that category, maybe this would mean all hope is now gone for you to receive the money. We look at PLE results that they are to be released on Friday this week. So yes, we wonder how many will access this, but we are in a lockdown, but still they'll be released, and all means will be provided for you to ensure I know how you scored. Still looking at the new vision, COVID-19 robs smack of biology teacher. Yes, Felix.
Well, of course, in the Daily Monitor also, now Magogo leaked to sports production companies, and in the Rainbow, meet Graham, who has been a co-pilot 4 times, but also lockdown, 10 people murdered each day. Now, the report came out, according to police, up to 73 people were killed, many through mob action in the past week alone. Now, fueled by domestic violence, reduced security patrol, and distressed population as the country braves to a 42 days lockdown imposed to stem further spread of coronavirus. Now, migrant workers also undergo confirmatory test 24 hours before the flight, and a couple of tenders for you, but also beating COVID-19, sticking to drug schedules, saved to Kundane, and why vaccination is key to country's economic recovery. But also inside the papers, President Museveni, the president, admitted that he was infuriated when he heard of the 2 COVID-19 positive cases that were detected in Team Uganda's first batch to Tokyo Games. Now, rare anti-government protests there erupt in Cuba, but also from the archives, we're looking at a photo of people boarding a train in Uganda district, that is in 1980, which was the most affordable means of transport. And today in history, Amin tells UK media of Chinese arrest. And first World Cup there, that was in 1930. And of course, also they give you the statistics of COVID-19.
Beginning with statistics of COVID-19, in the new vision, new confirmed cases 479, new death 25 people have succumbed to COVID-19. Total death, the new vision didn't capture that, but we look at just a reminder of symptoms there for you. If you have a fever, you have a cough, you have shortness of breath, sore throat, and headache, please seek medical attention. These are some of the symptoms that you might be positive with COVID-19. Still looking at the new vision, facts or myth. Today they bring you Dr. Alfred Uluware answering, can I go for COVID-19 vaccination if I am positive? The answers are there by the expert. We look at the archives today on this very date, the 13th of July, but the year 2001, Uganda gets second United Nations certification. Still, it was on this very date, but the year 1960, when Kennedy wins presidential nominations, that is for his country there. But also, no member of parliament, Richard Lumu, that is MP Mitiana County South, that is the one they have brought you more information regarding who he is and, of course, the area he represents in the Argus House.
Now, in the sports here, in the Daily Monitor, we're looking at our first determined to complete season sportingly, and records link as Magogo to Doggy Games Farm. Now, our Lady Cranes seek to bury rugby agony, and the home is home. The home is Rome, and Italy beat England to win Euro, and England's coming home cry ends in tears. But also, Giannis joins Jordan, Shaq and LeBron in NBA final history, and England World Cup bid faces hit after breach of Wembley. But also, Nanyondo eyes podium at London Diamond League, and Dina Asher Smith pulls out of British Grand Prix.
In the new vision sport, of course, the champions of the Euro 2020, a lovely picture there of Team Italy as they were celebrating their victory. Also, pedigree wins it. What are they referring to? That is the finals, Italy and England. They give you how and who made the day for the Italians. Their Afro basket, nothing to fear. That is the Afro basket 2021 in Kigali. The date, and of course the teams that are going to be participating there, and who they expect maybe would take it. That is what I had for you from the New Vision Sports and the Daily Monitor. Felix, do you have, that is the East African, yes?
Yeah, definitely the East African also. We'll be looking at now Abiy bites the bullet, forces government, that is austerity. Now Rwanda also joins SADC to save Mozambique, and in Juba, Hope Springs internal there, where we're looking at from hope to war, dreams of despair. South Sudan, there, that is a conquered decade, has left you a young country more fragile than ever. And of course, the damages as they celebrated their independence, trying to take assessment on how far they have come. More of that is what you get when you get yourself a copy of Daily Nation, East Africa, and the Daily Monitor, but also the New Vision. Now, we will also take a break, but Molen will be here to give us
maybe before that, let's take a look at what is in the Daily Nation this morning. We'll look at alarm over rising cases of kidnap. They also bring you more regarding that is the chilling account of Sharon's brutal murder. That is something that has taken toll in a neighboring country. Then still we look at that is in terms of the judiciary, Cold War. That is CJ, that the Chief Justice and MPs clash over Parliament's oversight role. We also look at billionaire Barson historic space flight. The Daily Nation brings you more of that. Still in the Daily Monitor, we look at 61. The Daily Nation, we look at 61. That is the number of children reported missing between March and May this year. That is for our neighbors in Kenya. There's so much there, painful death. They're still investigating this death and how it still really happened.
Well, of course, for some of you who will be hitting the road, also do not forget to do pick up a tip for today. Now, for some of you who try to get yourself into the heart of the city or wherever you want to move and will be using public means, just a notice is that there's no public means for now. So do not be windowed into any person probably riding on a border or driving any sort of car. Now, most recent, the habit has been that people have been hiring pickups or heavy-duty cars like LF forward, Maguru Kumi, Sino trucks. You can imagine to go wherever they want to go, but that is illegal. Now, any of you who wants to use any public means, endeavor to have proof. Either you must be in their situation to attend medical attention for that matter, or probably you have to go and you're part of essential workers and you must be able to prove that. And for those using cars, be private whatsoever, endeavor to have clearance in that way. Fourth, avoid being on the road if you do not have to be on the road in any way, either on foot, on bicycle, on bike, or in a car.
Yesterday I got a shock of my life when I saw at that is Katwe police station, where they impounded an ambulance that was working as a taxi.
You can imagine, there is no public means of transport, so do not be winded by any person, do not be lied. It is dangerous for even a person who is riding. You have seen people on borders. Now, you are putting yourself in danger because the person riding you is riding in fear. Even anything that just shocks him, they will want to run. I've seen people being thrown down because they met. There are people, officers are deployed even in rare, you want to call it. So be careful, do not risk your life. Only use these critical measures if you only have to. And I insist, if you only have to. But anyway, Molen will be here to tell us more about nature. She was talking to me earlier on about coexisting with animals. And she kept on saying that we can live with animals and no one has to eat each other. I really want to hear what she has to say about it. Let's take a break. Molen will be back to give us the weather updates. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Uganda. Today is a great day to work towards your dreams. Dial *185*7# and select savings to save as low as 500 Ugandan shillings on regular savings or 250,000 Ugandan shillings for fixed deposits. Airtel Money Super Saver is powered by KCB Bank Uganda. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless. T's and C's apply.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media Facebook URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Agaba Patrick Bainomigisha, the director of Agaba Coffee, Packers and Processors. I'm here to urge you, my country Uganda, to wash your hands always as one of the ways to fight corona or this pandemic.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Yes, a very good morning to you all. It is a very interesting discussion that we've been having here with Felix and Kirabo about how we can live together with animals and still not eat each other. And a conversation is still ongoing, and people think actually you can't live like that. Yes, there are animals that we are supposed to eat, but do we have to eat them all and lead them to extinction? That is still a very big conversation. And also adding to what Kirabo was saying, he's planning on having a tiger at home. He wants to domesticate a tiger. I don't know how possible he's going to do that, but yes, that and more is what we shall be discussing on a habitat coexistence. And also it comes at a good time when we're talking about human-wildlife conflict. There is a report from UNEP that we'll be taking a look at. Now, first, let's see what we are looking at on the screen right now. This is our image of the day, and it is coming in from Copernicus. That is one of the best satellites we have over our skies, and this is showing today the Philippines, where we've been having mostly eruption. And now this is this image was taken on 11th over Philippines, and that is showing one of the volcanic eruption that happened recently, and also looking at 185 earthquakes that were triggered by this eruption over Philippines. This was on Saturday. Now Copernicus has gotten this image, and we are streaming it as our image of the day today. But also we want to look at what we mean by living with or coexisting with wildlife. And I want to reference this to our Sustainable Development Goals, and specifically SDG number 2, that is talking about zero hunger. When we look at living with animals, we are talking about times when wildlife animals actually break through the conservation and they move into the population. What happens is that now humans have to also defend themselves, and by doing that we end up killing these animals. But also they do destroy property, they do destroy crops, and that could pose a serious threat in terms of animals and also for our crops. So that might lead to hunger. So if we are talking about Sustainable Development Goals, we might need to look at keenly our coexistence with animals, and also avoiding the conflict, because also the recent reports are looking at, specifically one from called A Future for All, is looking at most of the animals that have been led to extinction by this human-wildlife conflict. Now, this video is from UNEP, and also in collaboration with WWF, that is trying to look at how we can coexist and still avoid biodiversity loss. When we're talking about biodiversity, we're looking at all around. That includes animals, that includes plants, that includes birds, and also human beings, our waters. Yeah, so you can see someone holding a chicken there. We can't really exist with most of these animals. All we need is just conservation. Now, conservation takes in a lot. What should we avoid? Because all this is facing a threat of removing their habitat, what we are calling habitat degradation. If we carry out deforestation, we take off where these animals are supposed to live, even for the birds. Now, human activities have been a major threat to habitat degradation when it comes to looking at biodiversity, because what we do is we go around, cut these trees. That means the animals or the birds that are supposed to be living in these places are forced to migrate. They are forced to leave their habitat, and in that is how we're losing most of the species. Also, in the conservation that we have, the national parks, most of the animals have been forced out because of poor conservation and also lack of food. Recently we saw a report of elephants that were moved through long distances from China, and these moved through in search of food. Now, meaning that if we are not having good conservation towards these animals, they are likely to even escape the conservation, the national parks, and that's when we see them coming into the population, and obviously now humans will resort to killing them in kind of self-defense. So what does that mean? It means that we are losing some of these species, and they might be forced into extinction. If we look at each time animals do escape their conservation, each time animals escape national parks to go in search of food, to go in search of water, and we end up killing them in self-defense, we could be looking at extinction of different species. So this is something that we need to look at. And right now, what we should emphasize on is human-wildlife coexistence. We can coexist together. We can have a safe environment where we both get what we want, but at the same time, we also protect most of these species. I also want to talk about one of the species that are really under threat, is the polar bear. And we cannot blame this just on the direct human activities, but also climate change has been a great threat to the existence of wildlife animals. Because now with climate change comes lack of water, comes lack of food as well, and also for their like the temperatures where they are used to be, and also we look at instances like drought. Now, remember, animals, wild animals most especially, live in national parks, and what they are depending on are actually the grass cover and most of what they eat. But when this is under threat by climate change, then we look at these animals are going to be forced to actually leave these places. They feel like maybe out there is going to be more food, there is going to be more water, so they end up going into the population, and we cannot resort to killing them. There must be other ways to conserve. And I still pose this to our policymakers. If we are talking about implementing the Sustainable Development Goals, and specifically looking at goal number 2 of zero hunger, we need to also take into consideration that most of these animals also need to find what to eat. Well, we want to come back today and take a look at what is going on over our skies here in Uganda. We want to look at what is happening across the country. Now, we've been having mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, and most areas are dealing with cloudy conditions this morning, but that is only over a few places. We did have that rain system that started today morning across Lake Victoria, but that also just died off, and much of the country is left with mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. There is that rain system that is still to the Congo side, but that will also be propagating westwards and could be bringing us rains, most especially across the Midwestern and Western parts of the country. And also for northern Uganda, we see those clouds that are starting to develop, and those could be bringing us rains later, but most of those rains will be coming in the afternoon. For now, we'll take a look at our forecast for today morning across most areas within the country. We are starting off with a central Lake Victoria basin. That is where we have Kampala, Entebbe, we have Mukono, we have Wakiso. We are likely to have those isolated showers coming in over a few areas, but also that will be just 20% of this area, and temperatures quite chilly at 25 degrees centigrade. Now for central northern Uganda, that is where we have Gulu, Kitgum, Padel and Ajimani. Right now it's mostly cloudy. We will have that sun also coming through, but temperatures are at 26 degrees centigrade. We do expect rains to come through later in the afternoon. Do look out for those. Now also for eastern parts of central, that is where we have Ruwero, we have Wobulenzi, Nakaseke in that category. We are expecting to start off the day with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Quite a pleasant morning over there. Temperatures are at 26 degrees centigrade forecasted for this morning. Now for the eastern part of the country, that is where we have Soroti, Amuria, Kumi, Katakwi. We are also forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine. Quite also a pleasant morning over there, with temperatures going up to 26 degrees centigrade, quite similar to what we were dealing with yesterday across that region. Now for the eastern parts of Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, we have Jinja, Busia, Iganga. We're also starting off the day with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions at 26 degrees centigrade. We are also forecasting rainy conditions later in the afternoon. Please do look out for those. But for now, it is a beautiful mix of clouds and sunshine. Now across Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, Bududa, we have Sironko in that category. Quite a chilly start off into the day at 25 degrees centigrade, but also similar to what we had yesterday for that region. We're also expecting to have mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine throughout the morning. Now across southwestern Uganda, we do have Mbarara, Bushenyi, Rubirizi, we have Buhweju in that category, Ibanda, and that is where we're expecting to have a mix of clouds and sunshine. Quite a pleasant morning as well. Very chilly conditions at 25 degrees centigrade, but we do expect rains to develop more in the afternoon. Please do look out for those as well. Now across the western parts of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Masaka, Kalisizo, Sembabule, Rakai. We have Rengo in that category also. That is where we're likely to have isolated showers. Those will be over a few areas, and also a chilly morning at 25 degrees centigrade. That rainy system is actually forecasted to continue even in the afternoon. Please do look out for those. And also for Midwestern Uganda, where we have Mtoroko, Masindi. Right now, we're having mostly cloudy conditions, but we do expect more rains to come in later in the afternoon. Same goes for Kasese, where that is across the Rwenzori region. Like I mentioned, we do have those clouds that are starting to develop even now, but those will be bringing us rains only later in the afternoon, because you see this rainy condition is still over the Congo side, but it is forecasted to at least move towards the country, and that will be in probably 6 to 12 hours, but that will be bringing us rains across this region. So most of those will develop later in the afternoon. And also for the Karamoja region, northern Uganda, we do expect more rains to come in later in the afternoon, but for now it is mostly cloudy conditions. We will see that those sunny conditions also coming in, but mostly also very moderate winds across that area. And that is what is bringing in mostly those chilly conditions. Well, I will leave you at that in our weather and nature segment. I will go ahead and advise Kirabo to see how we can have him domesticate a tiger. That is a tough one. I am interested in knowing how that goes for him. But also to you out there, please, if you do have domestic animals that you live with, mostly dogs, people love dogs, and I'm a cat person. I do like cats, but dogs are good. I don't have anything against them. Animals are really nice to live with, and also even for people rearing chicken, I think there is that love that is attached to living with them, besides the fact that they give you meat, and I mean they give you chicken, they give you eggs, and you also sell them. But there is, you know, that love that is attached to living with animals, and that is something that we should look at when we are talking about biodiversity and also coexistence with animals. My name is Mollen Kenyana, and I'll leave you with Good Morning Uganda agenda. Robert will be coming up to take you more in that. We also have sports coming up. Ruben will be here, and also don't forget Good Morning Uganda Extra with Semakula Jagenda. My name is Mollen Kenyana. Have a good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by